So we're going to overlock this piece of fabric, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to finish the edge so that you don't end up with a raw finish. Just place the fabric in the overlocker and serge. Once you've got your needles almost to the edge of the fabric, you want to just chain off the fabric, just chain off it. Slow right down, so make sure your needles are actually off the fabric. We'll go one more stitch, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up the press foot and I'm going to flip the fabric over like that and just push the fabric back underneath, upside down. Now you've got to be really careful, you don't want to cut this edge because those loops are locked. And we'll go about an inch, lift up the presser foot, lift up the needles, and now we're going to turn the fabric this way so that they can come away from the chaining fork like that, and we can cut that away. And that is our first way of finishing the overlocking so that we don't end up with raw edge threads. Now the second way we're going to finish the edge of our chain is by threading it back through. So I've got myself a tapestry needle. Okay, so chain a little bit further away, so you've got a nice long chain, and then we can cut that long chain there. And what we'll do is we'll thread these up. So I'm going to twist these threads and then feed them through the large eye of, and feed them through the really large eye of the tapestry needle, like so. And there we go. And then what we'll do is on the wrong side, we'll feed through the eye of the needle rather than the pointy side. We'll feed the needle through the chain, doesn't matter where, and then feed the whole of that over, so the overlocking, and then you can stretch a little bit of the threads and pull them back, and they get tucked away neatly inside. So that's the second way of making sure you've got a nice raw edge, and you can do the same with the top as well. Now this third way is better for finer fabrics, or if you're going to be doing something, a decorative overlock that needs to be seen. And I'm going to have a longer thread coming out, but rather than chain off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fiddle with the hand wheel and then pull the threads through like that. It's very difficult to get them. Don't pull too hard, you don't want to damage the chaining fork. Okay, and then just make sure you've got the needles up at the highest point, and then we'll just cut the threads there. And what I'm going to do with the needle is separate these threads like this, and you can see 2 threads sort of work on the bottom and 2 threads sort of work on the top. There we go. So we've got those there and those there. And what we can do now is just tie a nice knot. I'm going to catch these 2 threads, and I'm going to catch these 2 threads, and I'm just going to tie a knot in there. And this is much better for fine thread. So if you're doing a 2-thread flat lock or a narrow hem edge, this might be the best solution for you. Okay, and that will hold. Now to go around the corner, what we're going to do is serge all the way across, come off the edge, turn the fabric round and then pick up those threads to do this side. We'll show you how to do that now. So we just go over a couple of threads, lift up the press foot and then turn the fabric around, and then go in front of the needles. So you need to come off the chaining fork and start again. The fabric is in front of the needles, ready to start sewing. And there we go, going around a corner. Now to do the inside corner, what we're going to do is measure 1/4 inch with a ruler, and that way we're going to be able to mark accurately how far we need to be in. So I'm going to mark a couple of spaces along that line at 1/4 inch, and then draw that line, match those points and just draw the line up to the corner. And we're going to do the same here. So mark 1/4 inch there and mark another 1/4 inch there, and then draw that line in. Oops, let's do it that way. And then what happens, you don't have to draw your line as big as this, is where they cross that point there, that's where we will need to cut the fabric. So cut at that point there. Get some good scissors to do that. And then what will happen is we will hold the fabric like this and create a nice straight line. So if I pop a pin in there, and then I end up with a nice straight line, which I can now put into the machine and create a perfect line for my corner. And then hopefully what happens is we end up with a nice flat corner, and we have. So if I cut this into a curve, because an outside curve is much easier than an inside curve, it's going to be straightforward to do. I think the secret to this is keeping this fabric close to the blade. And you end up with a nice curve, flat curve. Now inside curves need to lie flat, straight. But the problem with inside curves is they stretch. So you've got to try not to stretch the fabric. So let's have a look. What we're going to do is pleat the fabric as we go. So you can see it's starting to pleat up on this side, but we're keeping this side straight. Put it nice and straight.